Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Weaver, better known as Buck, and I'm a neuropsychologist and director of the Weaver Center here in Wayland, Massachusetts. And I so appreciate all the emails that I've been getting of questions and comments and so on and so forth. So thank you so much. There are topics to discuss. So please give me some feedback, or if you have questions, or if you have ideas for other videos. I very much appreciate that. My email is rweaver@weavercenter.org. Thanks. So today's topic's a very serious one, like all of these are. And the reason that they're serious when we talk about attention deficit disorder is because our difficulties are not obvious to other people. We are bright, organized, not organized. Whew, talk about a impulsive slip there. But anyway, articulate, caring, so many things that other people are curious about because of the symptoms or the problems that we have that, remember, are neurologically based. None of us have chosen having this area of difficulty. And in fact, I prefer to even think of it as an aptitude. Like, some people are terrific at music, others are tone deaf. Some are terrific artists, others might be colorblind. Some pay attention no matter how boring something is. We have a hard time even if we predict something to be boring. But today's topic is about fathers and ADHD. Now, many of us have a spontaneity, energy level. We're impulsive, sometimes funny, so on and so forth. Some of us are quiet, and we are what we call low octane, just kind of maybe looking at somebody and so on and so forth, but just not able to pay attention well. But for fathers, this is very, very troublesome problem to have because it creates a lot of conflicts at home, at work, for community activities, and so forth. And one of the biggest problems that we have, or that others have of us, is that many of our abilities and behaviors are very dependent on intrinsic interest, how interested we are in something. If we're interested in something and focused on it, and it's generally new, or new project, new relationship, new, almost anything new, we can be very attentive. We can be quite organized. We can be quite productive. We can be almost without any noticeable difficulties because that's the way our frontal lobes work. Our frontal lobes are regulatory. They regulate memory and attention and creativity and language and so on and so forth. And so with high interest, our fathers, our men, can be extraordinarily capable. I often refer to us as Lamborghinis. If the conditions are just right, no one's going to pass us on the road. But a Lamborghini isn't very versatile. You know what I mean? You get it off the road, or like a dirt road, or you're in a field, or it's raining, and all of a sudden the same piece of equipment just is getting nowhere. And so that's a lot of what we do, is to try to help folks with that difficulty. So the other part, and the downside is that when something's of low interest, or something is familiar, just familiar, we often miss details. We're not paying attention. Sometimes we're looking for something and we can't find it half the time, or at least a lot of the time. We've already passed looking at it. I say that when I lose something, I have to search 3 times, because then maybe I'll get slow enough. And sometimes I even have to use the tactile method of searching with my hands. So we have trouble paying attention to things that are not top of our minds. So this has a difficult consequence, of course, in relationships, right? We forget things, we're late, we're not paying attention, we're blamed because, as I've mentioned in other videos, other people that, like, for example, really love and care for a partner, right? Love them to death, right? You think, oh, high interest, oh, that's great. But also a partner like that becomes more familiar and more familiar. No lack of love, no lack of caring, no lack of wanting to be very, very helpful and loving, but the attention to details begins to not be functioning neurologically in our mind. So what happens when dads start forgetting birth dates or dates or activities, or made a list but then didn't follow the list, was going to do something nice for a partner or a child or a friend of theirs and doesn't show up? And these things are very, very, very hard for us. Very hard for us. So what we need to do is to understand that others get angry at us because if they were doing the same thing, being forgetful or not on time or not prioritizing things, for other people that don't have this problem, they would have to do that on purpose. So other people can't understand how you can be so great at one thing that you're interested in and so bad at things that are familiar or not that interesting, because people generally are not this inconsistent as we are, right? So it creates a lot of conflict. And as I've said in other videotapes, especially about moms, one of my last ones, is that it's very important to be able to adjust to and know, and especially how to articulate, how to communicate, that these difficulties that you have, you understand that people are going to be frustrated with you. You understand that. You wish that none of this was like you. But that it's important to be able to say that this is a problem that I have that I don't want and it's very difficult to control. And I want you to know that it's not intentional. These problems are not intentional. I know that you might think they are, because if you were doing them, of course you'd have to be doing them intentionally because you don't operate that way. But for us, we have a very, very, very difficult time. So one of the things that we do is that we've got to have an ability to figure out strategies in the moment that will help remind us to pay attention to things. For example, I have alarm clocks that go off for a lot of different things. When and how to get up, what to do, when I wash the dishes, when I got to get the car done, I mean, everything that I need to get to, phone calls, appointments, I have alarms that go off. And I have one rule, that when the alarm goes off, although I do have to check the volume because sometimes it can be too low, but when my alarm goes off, I can push snooze and I can never push stop until I'm doing the task that's on there, okay? So we now have this great technology that can at least help us get started and initiate on tasks. Another thing is to have fairly comfortable ways of remembering things. Like, I really like to do a lot for my wife. And anything that I miss, of course, is not intentional, right? So, for example, I have Friday is our F day, right? I provide, which is, I've always loved doing this, but never remembered to, flowers, the food, the fun, the films, the frolic, the Friday is my day. And that's a reminder to me that that's something that I always like to do, but always forgot to do, right? And now that I've got a system, it's really, really, really helpful. But we don't think about systems. In fact, I can tell you it was my wife that helped me develop that system because she's an organizational specialist and very understanding, of course. And so it's really important, really, really important to be able to explain the difficulties you have, never as an excuse. Never as an excuse, and you say that right up front. This is not an excuse. But this, I hope, will help you understand that I struggle with this, and what I struggle with is not intentional. I do not intend to have these problems. And I hope that you can understand that I feel badly about it, almost as badly as you probably do. And that, if there's things that you could suggest that might be helpful to me, I'd be very open to them. So I hope that this can help you dads out there or men that struggle with this difficulty at work or at home. And again, don't hesitate to email me about other suggestions. That we have lots of treatment abilities, treatment skills to help us manage these difficulties that we have with regulation of attention when we have way too much attention and way too little attention and very little in the middle. All right, please don't hesitate to give me some feedback or ask other questions. rweaver@weavercenter.org. Thank you very much.